Hey students, I don't know I do know. I don't think Jesus or anyone who ever listened to him during his lifetime ever lived in Connecticut, but this is how I kind of imagine the parable that Jesus is teaching today to take place in. I imagine like a big kind of sprawling farm at the top of a hill with a long winding path that you can see down. Anyway, if you're like me, this parable was introduced to you as the parable of the Prodigal Son, which isn't a terrible name. There is a prodigal son in the parable. However, I don't know, maybe about 10 years ago, it's been a while now, like Jesus really clobbered me with this parable and helped me to see it differently. It is the parable of a prodigal son, but also the parable of an older brother. And so I'd like you to give it a swing. Start trying to think of it as the parable of the two sons. And if you're probably familiar with this story because it's fairly popular, but if you don't, there's a father figure and there's a younger brother who's kind of rebellious and an older brother who's kind of not rebellious. And the younger brother takes his inheritance, goes out, squanders it, just spends it terribly until he's actually starving. And that younger brother eventually he's like, man, I got to go home and ask my dad for a job. Maybe I can be a servant, a slave back at his farm. Meanwhile, the older brother's been there working hard the whole time, right? So the younger brother thinks he's going to come crawling back to beg for mercy from his father, but his father sees him a long way off. That's why we're here, and runs out to meet him, puts a robe on him, puts his ring on him, and has a party, kills a cow. It's a big deal. And then after the party, or during the party, I think the father recognizes that the older brother is not there, and he goes out. And the father confronts the older brother. He's like, "What's going on? Why aren't you celebrating with us?" The older brother's like, "I've been here working the whole time that my rotten younger brother was out spending all your money, and I never got a party like this." And then the story ends, right there. There's no resolution. There's no happy ending. There's no redemption for this rift between the older brother and the father. And it's on purpose, of course. Jesus is telling the story. I think you got to think about who Jesus is telling the story to. If you look at the beginning of the passage, you'll see that Jesus is teaching to a group of Pharisees and scribes, tax collectors and sinners, just all grouped together there. And so everyone in that crowd is one of these two brothers, right? It's a group of older brothers, Pharisees and scribes, and younger brothers, tax collectors and sinners. And that's true for anyone who reads the parable. You are either the older brother or the younger brother. At some point, maybe you were either the older brother or the younger brother in this story. And this is the thing, I'm not the younger brother. I'm not very rebellious. I don't squander money ever. I hoard it. Very responsible, at least I think I'm very responsible. I've tried to be very responsible. And so I never identified with the younger brother. I never identified with the parable of the prodigal son because I was like, oh, this is for prodigal sons, and I'm not one of them. But since this isn't the story of the parable of the prodigal son, and it's the story of the two sons, man, I'm the older brother. I think what I had to learn was that we need to come to Jesus and confess more than just our sin, which was really hard for me to get my brain around. How can you confess for something that's not sin, right? All the wrong things you do, those need to be confessed. You don't need to confess of the right things you do. But in my case, I really think I did. In fact, I know I did. I had to. I think the thing that I had to learn was that both immorality and morality can be paths to rejecting the Father. See, the younger brother is looking to find himself, right? He wants to do this self-expression thing and find his own way. And so he's trying to get control of his life by doing what he really wants. He's trying to follow his heart, And everyone knows it's going to fail, right? Any reader is like, oh, it's not going to work out, right? But we act depending on who you are, you might be like that younger brother seeking to find control of your life through finding yourself and self-expression and all that kind of thing, right? But if you're more like me, you are still trying to take control of your life, but you're trying to do it through hard work and responsibility and having everything together and not making any mistakes. And that can be a way to leave the father just as much as the younger brother's way. And the cool thing in the story is that there's a third way, right? And you don't see it because there's not a third brother. There's no like middle child who goes and takes this way. But it is offered, right? And we see it happen. You can try and control your life through self-expression. You can try and control your life through compliance. Both of those will fail. The one way that you can like find life is to take the ring. Like the father runs out, he sees his broken, starving son, and he offers him a ring. And that ring means everything. It means inheritance, it means family, it means acceptance, it means forgiveness. And that's what Jesus is offering. He's like, you can't work your way in here and you can't find your way into this family, but I'm inviting you in. And this is a place where things go well. This is a place where there's home and there's food and there's support, and there's company and there's friendship and there's love, all these things. But I guess we're slow to take the ring sometimes. So I hope that today you can kind of identify yourself in this story. I hope that you can either see yourself as having been either the younger brother or the older brother. Maybe not currently, but at some point, one of those two. When the father came out of the house and found me, did I accept the ring or did I deny the celebration? Hope it's a ring kind of day. Hope you're having a good one. I'll see you later. Also, if it was super windy and noisy, I apologize.